Alright, Chapter 2, Access Assessment. So I want you to be sure to download everything, but we don't need to have Excel open. So this is an Excel file that we're going to use later, but be sure to open your Jelly Bean Access database and leave your Excel file closed. Alright? Okay, so we're going to open our table in Design View. So let's right click, Design View, and we're going to add to the end mobile phone. Who calls it a mobile phone anymore? Short text, and then we're going to change our size to 14. And our next field is date of birth, and that's going to be a date time. And then we're going to change that format to short date. Okay, so make sure it's short date, not short time, but short date. Okay? And then we want to put an input mask on our phone number. So that's down here in input mask. So you click on it and you get these 3 dots. So I'm going to come over, yep, save it. And then you should have an input mask in here called phone number. If you don't, then you have to create one, and you'll need to call me or get on WebEx and I'll show you how to add that. Alright, so we're going to keep this, and it says to show the numbers as 555, 5555. Do not do that. Just leave them like this. Our placeholder is a dash. Okay. So I could do anything. I could do a pound key or octothorpe if I wanted. Okay. But we're going to do the underscore next. And then we're going to save symbols like this. So save symbols in the mask, and then next, and finish. Okay, so now we can close this and save it. Now we're going to import a new table from an Excel file. So I'm going to take my external data. Remember, I have an import group and an export group. I want to import from a file, from an Excel file. And I'm going to go look for it, which should be in my downloads, or wherever you have set it up to do. So it's called Excel, it's an Excel file, Access Sessions. So open that, and we're going to import a new table. Okay, take the data, the source data, into a new table. Click OK. And the first row has columns. See, it has our column headings. See, session name and description. Okay, we want to keep that. So keep that checked. Next. Now we could rename these fields if we wanted to. If we wanted to name it something else, we could. We do that right here. Okay, so next. And then we're going to do no primary key. We're not going to import one. We're going to do that here in a second. And then next. And we're going to import it into table session. And then finish. And we do not need to save our imports, or our, yeah. Alright. Okay, and so now we're going to open our table session in Design View. So again, right click on it, Design View, and right here we're going to add a new field as the first field in the table. So I'm going to select, so click that arrow, or click that whole line, okay, and then I'm going to come up here and do Insert Rows. And just like Excel, insert goes above. So I'm going to go above. and call it session ID. Okay, and this is going to be an auto number, and I showed you that earlier, that it automatically generates a number. It's a lot like your S number. Those are auto generated. Based on your number, we can pretty much determine within a few months of what year you were accepted into Salt Lake Community College. So those auto numbers are a good thing. The key that identifies each training session. Okay, the key that identifies each training session. And we want to make this our primary key. So I can anywhere on here right click and hit primary key, or I can just come up here and click that. And you notice I get the little key up there. Alright, session name, we're going to cut back. We're going to cut it down to 50. And then we're going to change the description to a long text. Okay? Because it was a very long description, and so we want to make it longer so that it doesn't, notice it took out the 255. This long text is huge. I think it's like a gig. I mean, not quite a gig. 1,000, maybe a meg. I don't remember. Anyway, it's huge. 1,000 characters or something like that. And then the session date, we're going to change the format down here to medium date. Okay, medium date. Alright, and then save it. Some data will be lost. Yes, that's fine. And then close. Now we're going to create a new table in design view. So create table design. And here we're going to call imp, train ID. It's an auto number. And then we're going to do a session ID. Foreign key to table. I'll come back and explain these in just a second. Okay, so what this table is really doing is it's connecting these two tables. So in a second I'll show you that there's nothing in here that connects to this one. And a database is the only thing that makes it more powerful and makes it a database is when you can relate tables to each other. Okay, so there's sessions that each employee is going to take. Well, I don't need to duplicate the employee into the session, or I don't need to duplicate the session in the employee table. So what happens is we create something called a junction table. And that's what this is doing. This is a junction table. So I'm joining, or they call it a join table. Alright? So we're joining these two tables together using this third table. So the session ID it comes in here, and employee ID is in here, and now we connect those two tables through this join table. Okay, and we're going to come back up here and make this the primary key, and save the table as TBL employee training. Okay, and then close. Now we're going to go to our database tools and create relationships. Okay, I can do it through show table and then pull them over, or I can just pull over what I need. So I want to show you first. Oops, not that one. Okay, so here's all the information that's in the employee table, and here's all the information in the session table. Notice there's nothing in here that relates to this over here until we bring this little guy in here. Now I can say my session ID is connected to this session ID. And it pops up and says, yep, I'm going to enforce integrity, create, and then I'm going to take this one and do the same thing on top of the employee. You've got to be on top of them. Okay, if I did it on top of session, it will do it, but it won't say the same thing right here. Okay, so you want to make sure you're on employee ID to employee ID and enforce integrity. And you should have a 1 to many, infinity, 1 to infinity relationship between your main table and your join table. 1 to infinity, session to session. Okay? And we're going to create a report. So come up here, click relationship report, and use the default report name. Okay, so save it and close the report, and then we're going to close our relationships. Now we're going to enter some data. So I'm going to come back into my employee training, and remember this is an auto-generated number, so I can't type in it. So tab up over, and I'm just going to enter session ID, employee ID, session ID, employee ID. I'm missing my 10 key. Goodness. Having to do this on my laptop. 25, 10, 3, 5, 10, 25. 10, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 records, and I've got 10 records. Okay. Alright, now we can close this table. And now we're going to create a report. So create, using a report wizard. We're going to take some information from our employee table. We're going to take their last name, first name, and phone number, home phone, and then we're going to go grab the session name out of the sessions. Okay, so each employee, we entered this information over here. We don't know, the numbers don't tell us anything, right? I don't know what session 10 is, but we're going to pull it in right here. And I don't know what employee number 25 is, but we're going to pull it in right here. Okay, so then I'm going to say next, and we want to group by, view the data by session. So my session name. And you only get this when I've got two different tables. So it wants to know which table is going to be on top and which table is going to be the data, right? So that's the only reason you see this, is because I've used more than one table. And then next, now we have our grouping levels, and we're not going to do any grouping, but we are going to sort by last name and then by first name. And then we're going to keep this stepped and landscape, and we're going to name it RPT session, RPT session roster, and then finish, and we can view our report. So this is the name of the session, and that's who's attending, name, attending. Okay, and that's it.